My name is John Passfield, and the title of this reading will be John and Mother Goose, Video 3, Mother Goose 2. So here is my novella, John and Mother Goose, The Carnival of Tales. That's John standing beside Mother Goose on the cover. Here's the summary. While driving his granddaughter home from daycare, John suddenly finds himself standing in the midway of a carnival of Mother Goose fairy tales. He's greeted by Jack of Jack and Jill fame, who tells John that Mother Goose is expecting him, as she has a role for him to play. But what does Mother Goose really want? Why does she think John is a writer of detective stories? And why, when she meets John, does she greet him as almost a long-lost son? And for that matter, why do so many of the fairy tale characters have different stories that they want John to write for them instead of the ones in which they have lived for hundreds of years? John is not a mythical creature. He's only human after all. But can he save the Mother Goose Carnival? Can he solve the mystery of the vanishing fairy tales? Now, even though a writer might write a book in what I call components or segments or image units, a writer likes to feel that when a book is complete, it is a fused unit, that everything fits together so snugly that it would be difficult, if not impossible, to separate the component parts in order to read only one strand of the story. So I find that in order to present the topic of this reading, what we could call Mother Goose's dilemma or Mother Goose's concerns, I am forced to read some of the passages which I've already read in a previous video presentation. So I'm just reading this strand of Mother Goose herself and her problems, her concerns. Let's go to page 7 then for the first passage. Here we are. It's just a bare stage. I'm one of a small crowd. 10 or 15 of us at most as I look around. A tent with washed out canvas, Jack and a beanstalk in faded paint on a weathered marquee, the curtain parts, and a boy comes out and bows. Oh, this is Jack of Jack and the Beanstalk. He opens his hand and shows us some seeds. I join in when there's a smattering of applause. Now a line goes through John's mind. Jack was a boy who lived with his widowed mother. This is amazing. I'm feeling stunned. This is a carnival, a midway, in the midst of a farmer's field, just like there used to be when I was a boy. I wonder where I am and what brought me here. I don't think these people notice me. It's a very skimpy crowd, a series of tents with rickety stages arranged in a row. Then we will move on a page. A man approaches, or is it a boy? An actor? A mythical creature? Or one of the human crowd? Is this a costume? Or is he wearing regular clothes? John, he says. Your name is John. Don't ask me how I know. I know who you are, and I know why you are here. This is the Mother Goose Carnival of Tales. Mother Goose is around here somewhere. I'll explain things as we go. I'm Jack, of Jack and Jill fame. I'm the one who goes up the hill to fetch a pail of water, as you probably know. Let's stroll along the midway. Mother Goose knows you're coming. She has a task for you. She'll tell you everything she wants you to know. So Jack and John stroll along the midway. Strolling with Jack along the midway, a little old lady approaches. Does she have a familiar face? Old Mother Hubbard, perhaps? Or the one who lives in a shoe? I'm about to turn to Jack and ask who she can be. It's John. I know you anywhere. I think of you as a son. Come give your old Mother Goose a cheerful hug. I've been waiting for you, John. I want to introduce you to my brood. I've been looking around the midway. Something told me that you were here. I didn't know the day, but I knew the time. I just couldn't seem to pinpoint where you were. And now I turn the corner, and here you are. Well, they move along. We're strolling along the midway. Mother Goose is in the middle, Jack and I on either side. We pause, the three of us, at another stage. Every stage along the midway is about the same size. All the tents behind them are equally faded too. About 25 people have stopped to watch Bo Peep. The curtain parts and a hand pushes a lamb out onto the stage. A pause, and lamb is followed by 3 bleating sheep. A shepherd's crook parts the curtain, and through the opening steps little Bo Peep. I'm relieved to hear the enthusiastic applause. A line goes through John's mind. Little Bo Peep has lost her sheep. It's almost time for Jack's performance, so that leaves Mother Goose and I. We continue along the midway, a small crowd at every stage. The humans don't seem to see us. Only the characters see Mother Goose and say hello. Jack said he had something to tell me. I wonder how long I'll get to be here. I assume that I get to talk to him again. I can't see anything but farm fields, cars in a parking lot, none I can see. There's the clothing from different eras, different centuries, it seems to me. People don't seem to notice one another. It's for sure they don't notice me. It's as if I got back, I'm having a childhood dream. Then we move into chapter 3. We're gathered in the character tent. I stand by Mother Goose's side. She wants to introduce me to the troupe. The tent's filled with familiar faces, drawn from dozens of nursery rhymes. A Jack from Jack Sprat Could Eat No Fat. Jack from Jack and Jill Went Up the Hill. Jack from Jack Be Nimble, Jack Be Quick. They sit on the chairs and spill out into the midway. It's morning, so none of the human crowd has arrived. Mother Goose shushes for quiet, and then she speaks. Now, John is a famous detective. You might have read some of his books. I've always thought of John as somewhat of a son. The characters look at me and at Mother Goose and back again. John has graciously come at my bidding, says Mother Goose to the troupe, to help me solve what I'm sure has been a crime. Now, I don't want to cause alarm, oh no, but it's very clear to me that some of our characters go missing almost every day. You're aware of the empty stages. I can see some of the signs from here. John is going to conduct some interviews. He'll be talking with all of you. Please give him your full cooperation, as if you were talking to me. John has cracked some very big cases. He runs ahead of the fastest bloodhounds. He is more devious than the most devious-minded of crooks. Criminals tremble when John approaches. They know they'll soon be locked in prison, reading about themselves in one of his books. The story goes on. Let's walk around, John, says Mother Goose, and watch some shows on the midway, and I'll introduce you to some of the performers. They'll all be willing to talk with you. They're a very friendly lot. The faded sign says Jack and Jill Went Up the Hill. 3 stagehands come out on the stage. One stagehand places a wooden bucket at one side of the stage, and the other 2 place a well on the other side. Perhaps there's something they might have heard, John. Maybe something has caught their eye. I'm sure, John, that with your experience, I'm always amazed when I think of your book. Something small, something tiny, something infinitesimal might well turn out to be a massive clue. Jack comes out on the stage, lifts up the wooden bucket and turns it upside down. Jill comes out on stage, and Jack shows the upside-down bucket to Jill and then points to the well across the stage. We move on to a further page here. Let me find it. Jack and Jill mime climbing the hill as they move across the stage. The climb is so strenuous for both of them, as their faces show that I strain my muscles involuntarily to try to help. When they reach the well, Jack puts the bucket in and with straining muscles draws the full wooden bucket back out. We winter in Sarasota, John, continues Mother Goose. Did you know it's a circus town? We pitch our tents and lick our wounds and attempt to regroup. We move north and tour the country when comes the spring. The troupe is a little smaller now, John. We have fallen on difficult times. There isn't a nursery story I haven't toured in my prime. I've been a fan of yours for ages. Somehow I'm drawn to the mystery genre. I wanted a writer, a mystery writer, one with a backlog of cases solved. No matter how tough the conundrum, you always come through. You have a mind that snarls at crime and takes a big bite. I hope I'm not keeping you from your writing. Did you wonder, John, how I managed to summon you here? And then the last segment I'll read today. On the way down the steep hill, Jack suddenly slips, and the wooden bucket rolls across the stage. Jack tumbles over and over as if he's falling down. Immediately, Jill slips on the steep slope and comes tumbling after. I'm thinking, John, of murder, Mother Goose confides to me. Or of kidnapping, at least. I made a list in Sarasota. We wintered there, as you know. All the acts that were part of the troupe, all the characters who were with us when we took to the road. I can't seem to find that list, John. Perhaps it has been purloined. I want you to find the culprit, John. A conspiracy, do you think? What would you say is causing the shortage of nursery rhymes? Mother Goose looks me squarely in the eye. The assignment, John, the task, the requirement, the need is to find out whether there's been a crime committed, who was murdered or kidnapped, when this crime occurred, and if a crime has been committed, who is guilty. This is the task, John, and nothing short of that. She assures me, as we watch the two characters tumbling, that she will introduce me to Jill later on. So that's part 2 of the Mother Goose problem. In chapter 2 and chapter 3 of the book, John finds himself under the spell of a dream. He's been driving his car with his little granddaughter Savannah buckled into a safety seat in the back seat, and she's been singing nursery rhymes while he has been wondering what the topic of his next work of fiction could possibly be. Suddenly, he finds himself in the presence of a carnival of nursery rhyme tales. A different nursery rhyme is being acted all up and down a row of rickety stages with weathered tents and faded marquees. A nursery rhyme character, Jack of Jack and Jill, Jack and the Beanstalk fame, tells John that he's expected and that Mother Goose would like to talk to him. John strolls along the midway with Jack until they meet Mother Goose, who proceeds to introduce him to her brood and tell him she has a crime for John to solve, since, as she tells John, she knows that he is a writer of crime novels, as she has always been an avid reader of his books. Well, dreams are a fascinating phenomenon. They present our senses, both our minds and our hearts, with a seamless blend of the familiar and the unfamiliar. John is familiar from his boyhood with carnivals and farmers' fields, as that is how circuses and carnivals set up on the edge of the towns of his boyhood, before there were large parking lots or arenas big enough to hold them. John's also familiar with all of the nursery rhymes, not only of his childhood, but of his granddaughter's childhood, as she is singing one in the back seat of his car as he is driving along. And yet, almost everything else about this dream, the faded tents, the nursery rhyme actors, Mother Goose herself, are imaginary phenomena. So it's quite logical that writers choose the dream phenomenon, what I call the dream nightmare phenomenon, since we never know when one starts, whether it will be a dark fantasy or a light fantasy, to present their views of what it is to be human. As we go through our daily lives, in fact our whole lives, we are met with what seems to be a perfect blend of the familiar and the unfamiliar, of the understood and the baffling, of what we can figure out for decision-making purposes and what seem to be continuous, even lifelong mysteries. What the dream nightmare scenario does, is sharpen up the contrast between the familiar and the unfamiliar. It is life, but it is life heightened. Reading such a story isn't taking time off from actual life. It's a reminder of what actual life is actually like. So, this is my novella, John and Mother Goose, The Carnival of Tales. It's available on Amazon. If you have a look there, there's more information. It's also available on my publisher's website, rocksmillspress.com, rocksmillspress.com, where there's more information. On my website, johnpassfield.ca, there are 2 free books. One's a planning notebook, which I wrote while I was planning and writing this novella. The other is a journal, a reflective journal, in which I wrote on all kinds of related topics as I was polishing this novella before sending it to my publisher. So if you're interested, have a look at johnpassfield.ca. Lastly, I'll just say thank you for watching this video.